Now we are going to start our discussion on relational data store, Amazon RDS, relational data store. Okay, so Amazon RDS, one of the most widely used services, which is nothing but a service through which you can easily set up and you can easily manage, operate a relational database in the cloud. So relational databases instance, what are all the relational databases that is supported in RDS is, we can take a Oracle instance, we can take a MySQL instance, we can take a SQL server, we can take a Redshift. Okay, there are several databases that they provide it as a services. Okay, here what we can do, by using this RDS service, we can able to create the needed database. Okay, for example, in our example, we are going to discuss how to create a database services that, and using our interface. This is our client interface. Okay, the client side, the client using a interface called as a MySQL client can able to make a connection to the RDS instance. This is our RDS instance. You are aware of what is instance in terms of cloud. It is nothing but a virtual machine which comes configured with MySQL server or Oracle SQL server or Oracle SQL or SQL server, Aurora, Redshift like. So here these are all the instances which comes configured with the needed databases. Okay, here if you are going to work with this instance, what you need at your side is, in your interface you need a client tools, client software associated with these RDS instances. Here we are going to make use of MySQL client. So here we are, the process that we are going to perform here is, we are going to first create a RDS instance according to our requirement. So here you want to take into consideration two things while creating the RDS instance: the security group associated with the instance in that security, and you want to take into consider the engine, database engine. Why so? Because since we are going to configure a MySQL client for this database engine, the version that we are going to configure here, the MySQL database engine that we are going to configure in RDS, and also the MySQL client engine that we are going to configure in our desktop need to be have the same version. There should not be any version conflict. If you have a version conflict, it may result in a problem. Okay, that is the first thing that you need to take into consideration. The second, so this is our client. Okay, so let me take this client as a EC2 service. So here let me create a Amazon Linux, any Amazon Linux. In our practice, we are going to create a machine with Amazon Linux on a EC2, Elastic Complete Cloud. So here in this client machine, we have a public address and we have a private IP address. Both the addresses will be assigned by default. So we want to make a note of this private IP addresses, and that private in this security group, we are already aware of what is security group. So the security group is one which acts as a firewall. So we have inbound rules and we have outbound rules in this security group. So what are all the traffic that need to be permitted to this instance need to be specified under inbound, and from this instance what are all the traffics that need to be permitted outside need to be specified under outbound instance. In this inbound rule, what we need to do is, we want to invoke two things. One, we should have a rule which allow MySQL Aurora to a particular port in the security group. The second rule in the security group, we should configure SSKs which should permit the machine, that is where you have configured your MySQL client, the user interface machine's private address need to be permitted here. These are all the two things that you need to specify in the inbound rule of security group associated with your RDS instance. Okay, in this instance, while creating the instance, you need to assign certain rules for security group. The security group should contain the following thing. One, it should permit inbound access to MySQL. And second one, the private IP address of the client computer through which the user is going to interact with this RDS instance. That private IP address need to be given permission through access through SSKs. These are all the two things that you need to specify here. So here in this client machine, the operating system that we are going to make use of it, Amazon Linux operating system. Then in the client machine also we will be having a security group associated with this client instance. In that security group also we need a permission to for MySQL, as well as we need to have a SSH permission for port number 20 for from anywhere. Okay, these are all the two things that you need to specify. Okay, so now we are going to create this RDS instance. Okay, so let me connect to AWS account. For this creation, let me connect to the AWS account. www.aws.amazon.com. Login into your account. Okay, here the account credentials we want to make use of for account credentials. To connect to RDS. Now we are going to create one RDS instance and another one EC2 instance. Okay, first let me create a EC2 instance. Else create a EC2 instance. With the Amazon Linux. Launch instance. You know the procedure of creating the instance. Okay, Amazon Linux. Let me make use of a free tier configure instance. Let me configure one instance. The instance may run on a default subnet. Okay, everything keep as default. Let me make the same storage 8 GB is enough. Add a tag. Click on add tag and specify a key value pair. The key is name and the value is MySQL server. Okay, or MySQL client machine. Configure security group. In this security group, you want to add this rule. Here, the security group assigned to this instance is launch wizard 16. You can make use of existing security group or can create a new security group. Click on add the rule. Here, you want to specify this MySQL. Okay, MySQL Aurora. So, through any interface from anywhere. So these are all the two things. The SSH need to be given permission from anywhere. Similarly, MySQL Aurora need to be given permission, and you save it. Review and launch. Launch your instance.
SEMJ, the third one.
Okay. Let me make use of an existing key to launch the instance. Okay, let this SQL MySQL client. Let me wait until it creates. Before that, let me launch a RDS instance. Click on RDS relational data store. So here let me create a MySQL instance. Choose MySQL. We can have Amazon Aurora, MariaDB, Postgres, Oracle, SQL Server, anything that we can take up. Okay, all the process of creating the instance same. Then to connect, you need only MySQL client. Okay, the appropriate client interface need to be configured. Let me choose MySQL. Let me select MySQL. So being we are going to practice, let me make it as development or test environments. In production, what happens here is it will deploy across multiple availability jobs to ensure high availability. Okay, so that here you choose this developer or test. Next, This is the thing, that license model, being it is open source, it comes with the general public license. You want to make a note of this database engine that you are going to make use of it here. Okay, default it chooses the engine, the corresponding engine's version, and the client, MySQL client, that you are going to configure in this Amazon instance through which you are going to connect with this RDS need to be synced, else you can't able to make a connection. MySQL 5.6.27, and you want to choose this class. Let me make it as a micro DB micro instance. We are not going to deploy in a multi-availability zone. Multi-availability zone instance, we will be having a database instance having a copy across multiple zones, which may result in adding new. To ensure high availability, being it is a testing environment, so let me make it to no. Okay. We have the monthly cost. If you took this instance of this opposite instance class DB2 micro without a multi-zone deployment, the instance cost will be per month, it is running $13 for a month. So let our practice, we are going to make use of for an hour, then we no need to pay for that. Okay. So general purpose, no multi-zone deployment. If you choose this multi-zone deployment, then you need to pay accordingly. You can just look into that. The instance cost rises to nearly $26. Okay, so no need to worry about that. Since we are only for our practical purpose, we choose this multi-zone. You have to be very careful in choosing this option. Okay, else it will take you to pay more. So storage 5 GB is enough for us. If you add more storage, you need to pay accordingly. Let me make a database instance ID. So I am going to assign my instance ID as any name as you like. Okay, I am going to assign a name Sanjay. It is your choice. So the password should be 8-bit size. Therefore, I am assigning Sanjay 66. Okay, the password should be 8 character size. Username Sanjay, password Sanjay 66. Next step. So it comes for a virtual private cloud. Let me make it this default VPC. If you have your own virtual private cloud, you can make this instance land in your own virtual private cloud. Okay. Security group, subnet group. Let me make it as here. You make use of this security group. Let me choose the default security group. Okay. The security group assigned here is default security group. Default VPC, and the database name we can also make the same name as Sanjay. Okay, so here this database, being it is MySQL, it listens in the port, parameter group, optional group, everything, no need to worry about. Okay, backup window, enable monitoring. If you want to enable monitoring, you want to here invoke yes. Okay, it will add additional cost to your instance. So if you want to do minor version upgrade, if there is any version upgradation for this instance, it without asking us it will do. If no, you want to click no. Okay, so yes, let me create a database. Now the database with MySQL has been started. You can find the process of creating. So it took somewhat around 5 minutes to complete its creation. So let me wait until then. So before that, what we can do, let me connect to the EC2. Let me do needed installation on top of it. So let me connect to the instance. Click on this instance. Now the instance is in a running state. So let me make a connection to this instance. This is a Amazon Linux instance. Copy. Connect using putty. This is your key. Key is So it is in you want to have the key. So here the now we are going to make a connection with the instance. Okay. So to configure the client software needed to make a connection with RDS. Copy, connect using port number SSH. For authentication, you need to provide the key. The key assigned to this instance is Sanjay. Open. Yes. The default username is ECT-user. It make authentication. Now it got connected. Okay. Now we are going to configure the needed services here. So first what you need to do, you want to make an update. That is best practice. Sudo yum update. Yes. Okay, what you need to do, here you want to install this MySQL client. Okay, for that you let me make a search. Yum, what are all the supported clients? You can search using yum search MySQL client. It will list you what are all the clients that it supports. Okay, now you can find we configured a MySQL 56. This is the interface that we need to configure. MySQL client program and shared libraries will be shared in this MySQL 56.x86-64. You need to install this one. Yum install -y. You need to specify this MySQL 56.x86_64. Yes. Okay, we need the sudo privilege. Install this package. Now the package installation is completed. Next, what you need to do? You want to make a connection. Before that, what you need to add here, this MySQL computer's private IP address need to be added with the Amazon RDS security group. Okay, to copy the private IP address of this machine. Copy, go to this RDS console, go to RDS, the security group that is associated. Click on this instance. Our instances is now ready. Okay, so to view, once it is ready, now we can find this endpoint might have been created. We need this endpoint for our connection. Before that, what we need to do, so in this instance security group, we want to add the following thing, the private IP address. So where to find out the instance security group? Click on this tag. You can find the security group associated with the instance is default security group. Therefore, move to the location of your security group. Here it will be under EC2 tag. Click on security group and click on the default security group. Click inbound rule. So inbound rule, what you need to edit? You want to add the rule. Which rule? You should have a permission to access SSH port number. On this custom, you need to specify the private IP address. Second add rule, you want to allow this SSH using MySQL Aurora, okay, from anywhere. These are all the two things that need to be added. So here in this case, this IP address what you are adding as a custom need to be given a mask. That mask is 32. Okay, you need to give the mask as 32. Please make a note. So what is the mask? That thing will be discussed during our discussion on VPC. Now we have added the needed things. What we did so far, we have first created two things here. One, our RDS instance, relational data store instance with MySQL has been configured. Here in this security group, we have configured the access to SSH for a private IP address of the instance. Okay, the client machine is nothing but a Amazon Linux machine under which we are going to install MySQL client. Under Linux machine, we are going to here you have MySQL server here. So using this machine only, you are going to make a connection with this RDS instance, MySQL server instance that is launched in Amazon RDS. Okay. So both the machine we have taken from Amazon, or we can take your local machine also. This is your local machine. You can also connect with this local machine. The process is same. So in Amazon Linux MySQL, you got it using this EC2 Elastic Compute Flow. Then what you did here too, we have a security group which contains the following rule: allow access for all through SSH. The second security group, it should provide access to MySQL. Here too, the security group should provide access to MySQL. So now we are going to install the client here according to the database engine that we have configured. We have configured MySQL 5.6. We are going to install the same client MySQL 5.6 here too, got installed now. Now we are going to make a connection with the database. Okay. Next step, we are going to make a connection with the database. The command to make a connection with the database is MySQL -u. You want to specify the username. The username is Sanjay -p. The password for the username Sanjay66 is the password. The next -h. It is the URL, the end point. How you can get this end point? Go to this RDS console. This is our end point. You want to get the end point excluding this port number and colon. That is important. Okay. You should not have this colon and port number. So just make a copy into your notepad and you separate this port number from there. So you need this endpoint excluding the colon and port number. Copy and come to your RDS instance. Okay, so this is your RDS instance. You can just make a verification. Come to this putty where you paste this particular thing. Okay, now you have the connection need to be done using this MySQL client. For the user credential is Sanjay with the password Sanjay66. The end URL is -h. Now it got connected to MySQL. Okay, this is the MySQL that we let me check it. So databases, we let you know the databases associated. Okay, so DATABASES. So these are all the databases that is created here. Okay, let me create a new database using CREATE, create database name. Let me create a database by name Raman. Yes, database created. So now if you issue so databases, now you can find Raman is also included here. Okay, Raman database. To connect with this Raman, use database name. Use Raman. Yes, database has been changed. Let me now create a table. Create table, a small table, employee with the employee number, integer, employee name, varchar of 10. Okay. Let me create a table. Now if you select anything, select sort from employee. Since the table is not populated, it is not listing anything. You can verify whether the tables are present by simply typing show tables. Let me insert the data into the table. Insert into employee values. You can specify the value directly. So if it is a numeric value, you can directly specify. If it is a string, need to be enclosed within a single quote. Let me select start from employee, it will let you know the data stored. This is the way by which you can connect to the RDS through the interface using MySQL client. Okay, with this our discussion on this RDS of how to make a connection with MySQL instance that you have launched in Amazon is over. In our next video, I will going to let you know how to create a SQL Server instance and how to make a connection with from your client side using SQL Server instance. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.